Thank you for joining me this evening. Tonight, we are talking about the ICW, really the lower half of the Barnegat Bay. We're going from the bottom of LBI, which is Beach Haven, and we're going to be traveling up along the ICW to the top of the LBI, which is going to be the Barnegat area. There is a section of that bay called the Manahawken Bay that we will be crossing. I'm going to be leaning heavily tonight on Happy Captain's boating instruction. Hoping that Sea Scout Ship 117 also jumps on the call. They might have some insights as we go along. John Anderson, he was helping out along the Delaware River, so I'm really happy to have all these people helping me out as we travel and as we talk about boating in these areas. There are some new people, new faces on the call today. Just want to do some quick housekeeping things. First up, not sure if you did hear the kind of warning, but we are recording this. I am going to eventually clean these up and post these online. We do have a YouTube channel. Just go online and search Whitman Marine Training on YouTube and it'll pop up. You'll find a few of our early webinars on there at the beginning on the Delaware River. So since we are going to be doing that, please refrain from using profanity. Treat everybody and every object and location with respect, because it's really difficult to go back and clean all that stuff up. In addition to that, let's try to keep our cameras off unless you have something you want to say. Same thing with your microphone. Unless you have something you want to say or you have a question, there's a button somewhere at the bottom of your screen. You can press it, hand will go up. I will ask, we will be kind of interactive today. This is not hopefully this is not just a one-way conversation. I hate that kind of a thing. So I will kind of ask you to put your thumbs up to let me know if I'm on the right screen or not. Why am I doing this? Why are we doing this? I think I've been using this slide for past couple of webinars now. So we did get a national award a couple months ago, back in October of 2024. And this is just kind of us spreading our wings and learning how to do webinars. So far, so good, as long as this kind of sticks and I understand it. This might be a thing that stays. So what I'm going to do is we are now going to transition to sharing a different screen. We're going to be using Navionics tonight. I've been using Navionics kind of regularly lately, mainly because it's been really helpful in kind of demonstrating what we need to see, right? If you have a screen on your boat, whether it's a Garmin or a similar device, most likely it's going to have some sort of a Navionics display on it. So it's really helpful to know what you're looking at and kind of interesting to see. Sorry, I was talking to somebody about boating on Beltsville Lake. So yeah, believe it or not, on Navionics, you can zoom in on random lakes in Pennsylvania and get the depth contours of that. So let's zoom out. Get rid of all the static, no overlays. Let's jump in right here on LBI. And we're going to start out at the bottom half of LBI, all the way at the bottom at the Little Egg Inlet. Okay, now I'm not really going to talk much about the inlet, talking about the inlets, but we could really go down a rabbit hole here, right? So we're just going to talk at the bottom at where the inlet would end or it would start. Okay, we're going to be working our way up the ICW, up towards, let's get rid of that, update my charts notification. Okay, so what are my settings. If you've been with me a couple webinars now, you will know that I like to have my settings to be. I like the sonar chart because I love having all those contours. I love being able to see that. This land contour, that drives me nuts. It does not give me enough information. I want to see some real contours. I want to be able to make good decisions with what I'm doing. Throughout our conversation today, I will be jumping between no overlay and the satellite imagery, just so that we can see different objects. All right, there's sometimes where we want to physically see that sandbar, and sometimes we won't want to see that sandbar. Or maybe there will be a moment where we don't see a channel marker where we know there should be a channel marker, or we know there should be a channel, but we don't necessarily see the channel markers highlighted or indicated on the app. But we can use it to find the telltales, or maybe we'll have a snippet of a couple boats highlighted, or take a picture from above from the satellite. That'll help us find where that channel is, and actually help us see where those sandbars are. Okay, so for now, I'm going to get rid of the, I'm going to go to no overlay, get rid of all that static, get rid of all that extra imagery, so I don't see that stuff. All right, we're also going to be annotating throughout the day, throughout the evening. I do like to use the color pink, mainly because it shows up really well on the screen while I'm talking. Okay, so a good way to know if you're going to be traveling on the Intracoastal Waterway and where it is. It really zoomed out so you can't see it, but if you zoom in pretty close to it, you'll see this line, and it will be dotted. On Navionics, it is a magenta line. All right, it goes like this, and it travels along in this direction. Okay, on the Intracoastal Waterway, we will be leaving green buoys between us and the ocean, and red buoys between us and New Jersey. All right, we'll start sliding our way up here. Okay. If you were on our last call last week, we did discuss this first channel, or this first obstruction that we're going to be coming across here. If you're coming up from the south, we do come across a split, a fork in the road, if you will. All right, the sandbar has been migrating further and further into the channel. All right, so make sure that you are really paying attention to where these red channel markers are this year. I like to use brown to highlight the sand or the mud. All right, make sure you're paying attention to where these red channel markers are. All right, and hug or favor the green channel markers. Hug the starboard side, hug the ocean side of this channel. Okay, do not find yourself on the sandbar. Now, these sandbars here that are highlighted in green, they are not visible at, let's switch this over to satellite imagery so you can see these. Change the map options, bring back up the annotations so you can see this. When the water is at high tide, those sandbars are not visible, right? All you have is water. You will not be able to see those objects. When the tide goes out, you will find all sorts of boats still stuck up on the mud. If you've ever been in this area, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you have never been in this area, take my warning, heed my warning, and stay clear of the sandbar and stay in the channel in this spot. Okay. All right, we're gonna start making our way up along the Long Beach Island. We can see here where there is a kind of a cautionary spot right around this green buoy that is there. So make sure that you pay attention to it. right here. All right, so as we are coming in, hug that red and just kind of pay attention to your depth finder around that green channel marker. Okay, I am going to be honest. On today's webinar, I am not going to highlight every single marina on this island. Okay, there are, I don't know how many marinas on LBI, but there are a lot of marinas on LBI. I'll highlight a couple of them, but I don't think I'm going to be able to highlight all of them. I'm going to do my best. If you're one of these marinas that I accidentally skip, I'm sorry. I did not do it on purpose, or maybe I did do it on purpose, but it's not out of spite. There's just a whole lot of them. I'm going to do my best to highlight all of them. Okay. All right. Let's zoom in. All right. First one we come up to, they have here, we have a kind of RV park that is also a marina. This one here is the Ferryville RV Park. Also has a marina associated with it. All right, and next to that is the Lundy's Trailer Park, and also has a marina associated with it. Really small marinas. Next up, next to that is my other. Okay, up in here we have Holgate Marina. Getting into Holgate Marina here, okay? You want to go basically straight in from the channel. You have a whole lot. You do have some shallow water if you come in along the bank. So what am I talking about here? So if you're coming into Holgate Marina, you want to come in kind of a straight in from the channel, right? If you're coming out from these houses down here, you do want to make a large turn in, right? I'll use red to show you what you do not want to do. You do not want to make a sharp turn to go across because you will run aground. There is that sandbar. This sandbar does kind of come out, and it has been kind of encroaching into that channel. So be mindful of that. And that is something that you will see the entire way up this island. It does kind of extend the entire way up. There is quite a bit of encroaching the entire way up this island. We will see that frequently. All right, we will be coming up here, and we have some neighborhoods that we can slide into. If you want to come into here, feel free. There is plenty of room. We're going to be coming across. I don't know how to pronounce this, Marina, but we have the Mordecai boat basin, and we have a Little Egg Harbor Yacht Club. All right.
Well,
Both of
if I
these.
can just interject the
Sure.
entrance from the south at Mordecai, you really got to hug the seawall. You know where that little fish marker is right there at the entrance. The closer you are to the seawall, the better the water depth is. Correct. Perfect.
All right. So follow, as Ed just said, make sure that you're following that pink path stated at seawall, that Liberty Thoroughfare, not Liberty Thoroughfare, that island, that mud is encroaching down towards the south. So make sure that you are heeding that advice. Right. All right, you can use that. You can stay on. You can go on either side of that island if you wanted to, depending upon where your boat is. Um, you can definitely travel. The traveling path is definitely the Intracoastal Waterway up through. You can see. You can definitely, obviously, see where the travel path is, right? So you have the buoys. All right, here is the traveling path, right? But depending upon where you're trying to go, if we're going to down to these various marinas down here, right? So we have Little Lake Harbor Yacht Club, we have the Beach Haven, we have the Beach Haven Yacht Club, and then there is a marina down here with the Beach Haven Yacht Club does have fuel, great spot to stop for fuel. It does, but the fuel dock does kind of stick out there a ways, and it's right along that ICW, so it does get quite a bit of um, boat wash into the dock. Even though it isn't a wake zone, you will get quite a bit of wake coming at you and lapping against your boat. Not only because of the boats kind of driving by and the boat traffic, but also because if I zoom out, right, you have the entire bay. There's nothing stopping the wind from pushing all that bay the entire way across towards that fuel dock. All right, so if you're going to be using that fuel dock, great spot, by the way, absolutely great. Excuse me, great spot to stop for fuel. They tend to open before a lot of other stuff. Fuel docks do in the spring. They tend to open before a lot of other fuel docks do in the spring, before other marinas along LBI. Those are a great spot to stop. But keep in mind that safety factor of that wind pushing you up against that dock and the water and the hazard of lapping up against your boat. All right, coming down here.
Hey,
a little
Paul, we
bit
have a
to your
question. We got a hand up.
Sure.
I don't know what the question is, but someone's got their hand up.
Hello. Hey, Captain Paul. It's
Hey,
Bill here.
Bill.
I just wanted to interject one thing on that is that, number one, is there any, or ask a question, are there any sticks to follow when you're turning off the ICW to go into these marinas? Are the boaters going to follow this, what we refer to as the sticks or day markers to bring them in, which branch off of the ICW?
Sometimes, and sometimes there is, and sometimes there is not. All of the marinas so far that we've mentioned, is no sticks.
Right. So I think the closer they are to the ICW, right, there's no sticks to guide you in there. So that local knowledge that you just gave away about hugging the right side is awesome, for someone that's going in there, and what I think it was Captain Ed that said about the seawall, hugging the seawall going in. There are things that you have to gather into your playbook, so to speak, via experience.
Yeah, definitely is.
Yep, that's
Definitely
all.
is.
Yep.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks, Ed. Right here you have Morrison's Marina, another great marina. This one gets jam-packed. You definitely have to be careful as you're transiting the marina and make sure that you're paying attention because you get lots and lots of boats in this marina, especially as you're going in and out of the marina because you get all the traffic going past it. I can annotate it for you. All right, so you got a lot of boats going this way during the weekend. And since there is that fuel dock, the fuel dock is right on the inside here. So you get a lot of boats transiting.
Paul, this
Right
year they don't know if they're going to have fuel.
Really?
I spoke to him a little earlier, and he's at Queen City there now. And but one interesting thing, they have a pretty good restaurant that they also own. It's kind of a dock and dine, and you can tie up on the outside of that seawall if you want to go to the restaurant. They don't have any, what I would say, free guest slips for the restaurant inside the marina itself, but that seawall is plenty large. But as you said, you need a lot of fenders out to protect yourself from that wash.
Yeah. That's great to know. That is great to know. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you for letting all of us know. Okay. And if you are going to be going into this neighborhood down to the right, some of these neighborhoods I've been in, some of these I have not. If you're going into this neighborhood down on the right, you have to hug this wall to get into this neighborhood. Well, not run over the ground, obviously, but you got to come in, hug this wall to get in. All right, because you do have that sandbar. This one right here kind of goes right there along that. So, okay. All right, we're going to keep going south. All right, right here, I think it was Bill that just asked about sticks, right? So my comment was sometimes no and sometimes yes. This is going to be a moment where you do have some sticks going into sheltered harbor, and you have sticks going into the ramp here. All right, you do have the public ramp, and you do have the sheltered harbor marina, and there is another marina, Eastern Marine, right next to it. A lot going on here. So I'll zoom in on this. Again, don't want to spend too much time, but we'll cover it because we're here. Start out with purple, I guess, with pink. So it's hard to see them, but they are there. Basically, you have this green buoy in the channel, and you go straight from the green buoy in. Okay, and that is a marked channel with sticks. Okay, it does have sticks marking it in. All right, and you have to follow that in. If you don't follow it in, you're going to run aground. There's just no way around it, no way to sugarcoat that. And when you follow that in, my pen, then there's going to be a marker here. You have to get past that marker. That is when you turn and go to this marina. Okay, and there should be a marker over here, 2 markers. That is when you can then go over to this ramp. Okay, you have to follow that basically to the T. If you don't follow that to the T, you're going to run aground, and there's no way around it because of all the mud in that area. All right, I do word of caution for this boat ramp. Do not drive your truck into the water. All right, there are a couple ramps. I highlight that in New Jersey. This is one of them. Do not drive your truck straight into the water. All right, I know that sounds obvious. It's a dumb thing to say, but every couple weekends, someone just drives their truck straight into the water because they don't know where the ramp is, and they get lost in a parking lot. It's a big parking lot, and they make the turn. They come in here, drive their truck in, and they get lost. They don't know where it is. They come in here to turn, and they just go right in. And I don't know why, but they do. They do. Don't do that. Don't do that. All right. Good talk. All right. Come down here, zoom out. We're going to keep going south. We can keep going north. This does kind of bend around here. This is all the slow side. All right. Everything so far that we're talking about is all slow. This is all no wake zones. There are ways to get out of the no wake zones. Well, I'll show you that in a little bit, but this is all slow. This is all no wake. All right. We have Sportsman's Marina. We have Spray Beach Yacht Club. We have Bay Haven Marina, all sorts of marinas. Make sure you're sticking to the channel in this area. I will say that depending upon the time of the year, depending upon where you want to anchor, if you're just going to go into the shallows, anchor and have a good time, there is quite a bit of seaweed in this area. I've had to retry sometimes 3 or 4 times. It almost feels like I'm cutting the grass, clearing the seaweed out of a spot before I can get a good hold on the anchor. All right, I'm going to keep going north. They have a called Escape Harbor. That is also called Sunset Harbor, right here, and Southwick's Marina. Sunset Harbor is this one here. Sunset Harbor here. Southwick's Marina goes all in there. Okay. I'm going to zoom out. I will keep trucking north. All right. Make sure that you're following the channel. All right. If you don't follow the channel, you could find yourself stuck, right? So there's all sorts of sandbars everywhere. If depending upon where you live, if you live in some of these areas, let me know. Throw a comment in here somewhere or raise your hand if I'm going to go past one of your houses, and I'll definitely highlight a way to get into your neighborhood if you need to know how to get into one of those spots. All right, coming up north past Ham Island. Here on the right, on the starboard side, why is that not telling us what it is? We do have the Beach Haven Park Yacht Club. Port. Keep going. Just need to zoom out to double check where we are. Okay. All right, here we're reaching a fork in the road. We have 2 options. Okay, if we continue in this direction, that will be taking us towards the small bridge over in Ship Bottom area, right? That takes us to the Ship Bottom area. That takes us to Surf City. It can be real tight in that direction. Or we can go in this direction, right? And that will take us over to Beach Haven West and underneath the 72 Causeway and around. All right, depending upon what your depth and your head or your air clearance is, one way or the opposite way may be your best option. Okay, going to making the port turn into the left, you're able to open it up and get going. All right, staying to the starboard side continues your no wake trek, nice and slow. We're going to continue on the no wake side. All right, on the starboard side here, we come past Marine Max. Marine Max does have a fuel dock. Same thing with Hagler's Marine. Hagler's also has a fuel dock.
Paul, if I can just comment on those 2 fuel docks.
Sure.
They're great, but they are both towards the inland side of the marinas and a little difficult to get into with a larger vessel.
Okay, so are these good wave runner stops for fuel?
Absolutely, absolutely, and really anything up to 20 or 22 feet, it's okay to get in and out. but it's just a little tight to get in there and spin around. And if you get all the way in there and there's another boat at the dock, I think they typically only have about a 40-foot fuel dock at both of them. So it's just tough to kill time in that restricted area.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean they definitely have small openings to get into those marinas. So that definitely makes sense. All right, coming up here, we're still going to keep going north. We come across a couple more marinas. We have Duck Island Marina. We have Sunset Marina. We have the Ship Bottom Marine Center. We have quite a bit of stuff going on here. Before I think we're gonna keep going until we get to the bridge. I don't think there's anything else until we get to the bridge. But right here at the bridge, directly underneath it, we do have, I have no idea how to pronounce that marina. Ed, any idea? Hochstrasser's Marina.
Yeah, it's Hochstrassers. It's in a bit of disrepair currently with no fuel.
Okay. All right, and on the other side we have Dutchman's.
Also closed.
Also closed. Awesome. All right, but both of these bridges are real narrow. Not narrow, but they are real tight. They do not have much headroom to get underneath there. So if you have a cruiser with a lot of headspace, and you're gonna need headroom. Let me get rid of the satellite imagery so maybe we can get a bridge information on these. And it's not going to tell us. That's how low they are. They're not telling us. So you're probably looking at 6 foot, 5 foot.
The one furthest over to towards LBI, you probably have about 18 feet there. You can get through with a center console, T-top with antennas. But if you have outriggers, they got to come down.
Okay.
It's got to come down.
Good info. Good info. Thank you.
There's probably more water depth there than there is air depth.
Makes sense. All right, before we backtrack and go the other way, I did want to highlight there is the ship bottom boat ramp right here off to the right. A lot of people use this, especially those that are over at Beach Haven West. A lot of people use this ramp. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of backtrack a little bit to that fork in the road that we had. Okay, right here we have this fork in the road. I'll highlight it again. Right here we have a fork in the road. Again, we go this way and we take that nice slow no wake route to those two bridges again, or we can go in this direction and we can take that to Beach Haven West, or we can take it around into the Manahawken Bay. That's the route we're going to go now. If you decide to go this route, make sure, and you draft quite a bit of water, make sure that you stick the two things. Stick the path, stay between the buoys, and pay attention to the buoys. All right. I've seen people clip these channel markers or telephone poles. I've seen people clip the telephone pole because they weren't paying attention. They allowed the boat just to kind of drift over, right? They didn't hit the pole square on the nose on the bow. They clipped it with an outrigger. They clipped it with something on the side of the boat, and they just hit the sign. All right, so make sure you're paying attention to what you're doing and don't just find yourself drifting over by the current or the wind. All right, following the channel up here, and we're going to hit an intersection right here. There's a couple intersections, almost like a gigantic four-way intersection, and I want to highlight it here for you. There is a channel, and it's not marked on the chart, but it is marked in real life. All right, this is a moment where hey, I don't see the buoys, but I know there's a channel there. And I know there should be buoys there. And I'm glad I have the satellite imagery so I can actually see where the boats are. So I have an idea as to where it is, right? So let's zoom in so I can show you where it is. And I'll annotate it for us. So we can see the boat here. We can see the boat there, right? So then we can ascertain that there's the channel goes in this direction, right? That is the cheater path. So you can avoid some of that gigantic no wake zone area to get from the Beach Haven West over to that ship bottom municipal ramp or to the ship bottom area to avoid all of that slow no wake area. Okay, that is marked, and there are either buoys or sticks. Every other year it kind of changes, but most often it is buoys out there.
Nothing yet as of this weekend, except for a couple broken off ones from last year.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, the next channel I want to highlight, you can kind of see it, right? Let me change this maybe from satellite to there. All right, no more satellite, and now we can see the channels, right? A little bit easier to see them. So there's another channel, and there should be some buoys here. There's usually like a buoy here. Oh, I wanted a pen. Usually like a buoy here and a buoy here. There's a boat, and there's markers back into. So this is usually pretty well marked. So you can usually find your way around this without any issues. All right, so you have this 74 down here, and you can usually find your way around this thoroughfare island to get back into your Beach Haven West entrance. All right, but for some reason these buoys just don't show up on the chart. Probably because they're seasonal. The permanent ones do, but the seasonal ones do not. All right. Ed, any sign of these this year yet?
Yeah, Paul, the two that are closest inland to that entrance are out, but the what I would call a sea buoy, or the two sea buoys, they're not in, and I don't know if they're going to put them in this year since they're not in yet.
Okay. Okay. But so even if they're not in, right? If you have a chart plotter and you can bring up the depths like we have here, you can use the contours, and as long as you can see the depth of the water, do it a couple times at maybe a slower speed. Don't do it at full keel, because if you hit a sandbar at full keel, you're going to do some damage. But if you take your time, you can find your way through there, get a crumb line through, and then you'll be good to go, right? So yeah, that should be about the slinky way through there. All right. Okay. Over here, this is Beach Haven West. Over here on the left, top left of the screen. Whoever designed that, I don't know what to tell you. Okay. Zoom back in. Gonna start making our way. Keep going north. You can go around Thoroughfare Island right here. I have noticed every year this backside here gets smaller and smaller. Every year this has gotten smaller and smaller. Just pay attention to that as you go through there. They do mark that really well, and they do put channel markers in here, but it's gotten smaller and smaller every single year that I go back there. So make sure that you're paying attention when you go through there, so you don't run into someone's house or run into something. And pay
It's
attention to
also
your
a no
depth
wake
finder.
zone, Paul.
Yes, thank you. Good call, Don. Okay, maybe I guess before we go north, you know what? I'm not going to highlight going south because you really have to. There is a path through the bay south, but you have to know your way through it, and you have to be able to follow the contour, and it's not really marked. So I'm not gonna highlight it. Okay. All right, so we're gonna work our way north here. Maybe at the end of this, after we cover all the water that I want to cover, we can go back there to that, and we can cover that briefly. All right, so we're going to work our way north. If you want to go to the second entrance into, they have two entrances into Beach Haven West. If you want to go to the second entrance into Beach Haven West, it should be marked. There used to be, every year there are sticks marking your way in. Just follow them in.
They have small lighted buoys this year, solar lit.
Fancy, fancy.
But it is very shallow as you approach the entrance to Beach Haven West, where there will
Okay.
typically be a slow speed no wake.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Okay. All right. Now we are going to go underneath the Manahawken Bridge. And if somebody could tell me how I can get a job to install a bridge and get paid to remove the old bridge, but not remove the old bridge foundation, I would really like to get that job. So, see if this shows up on the satellite. Probably will not. But it's worth a try. No, that's too much. Too busy. Get rid of the satellite. Okay. These things have got to be the most dangerous things on our coast. Anywhere on our water, these are the most dangerous things, period. All right. If you're driving a ski, a boat, a kayak, I don't care what you're driving, please, for the love of God, drive through the main center span of the Manahawken Bridge and the Route 37 bridge. All right. Drive through the center right here. Okay. Do not drive through this area. Do not drive through this area. Do not drive through this area. Drive through the center span. Please do it. Please. All right. They did not, the construction company, for some reason, did not remove the wood pylons from the old bridge. All right. And every year, people literally destroy their boats when they go underneath the bridge and they hit these things. It's absolute disaster. And yeah, Bill's comment there, that family was in a class with us at one point. Even on the next span in closer to the shore, that the bridge abutment or the bridge supports are still there. You can see them in the black dots. They are still there. There is a span, marked span to go underneath. Go through that. Do not go through any other spot.
Oh, a
Please.
little local lore and a little local knowledge. They were actually icebreakers. If you remember, maybe 15 years ago, they had like little, almost like a ramp on them, would look like a ski ramp, and they were to break the ice flows prior to them hitting the drawbridge back in the day.
Those three were?
All those that you see along there. And I have
Death
almost,
trap,
when I was
man.
a younger man and irresponsible, I've almost hit them.
Absolute death trap, man. They are Absolute shame. So if you want to get to, if you want to get to Mud City, there are a couple houses back there. I do believe there's a marina back there as well. For the life of me, I do not know the name of it. Back on Manahawken Creek. It is a marked channel to find your way back there. So after you go through the center of the span, you can hang a port. It is a marked channel all the way back into here, into Manahawken Creek and into the Cedar Creek. It is well marked. It has sticks. Stay in the channel and find your way back. The same thing can be said. Let's see if I can zoom in to get rid of that. This double. All right, same thing can be said for this wonderful marina off to the bottom right. All right, go through the center span, and you should find a marked channel to find your way into the boatyard down here. All right, at the boatyard, there is fuel, there is food, there are a plethora of rental boats coming in and out of there, and it is a fiasco to try to dock there. So good luck if you try to dock there.
Well, no marks there this year, but looking at my tracks from last year, they have the big tent that they set up there for the food area. If you go north to that green mark right there, you'll start to see the tent appear behind a large, it's going to be a boating supply center this year. And I use that kind of a range marker. When I see the white tent appear, I make my right and head right out.
Okay. See if I can mark that. I think I got that almost right on. So you're talking
Yep.
about this tent right here, right? Roughly.
That's the house. The tent's going to be a little bit south of that, in between the two waterways in the marina.
Tent's gonna be down here.
Right down there, but when it's a little deceiving from there. The tent sticks out a little bit, so
Okay.
just the little yellow mark where your annotation is, that's a marine supply building, and it blocks the tent until you get to an area where you can make your right turn.
Okay.
But your line was right on.
Yeah. I personally try to avoid a place, but all you. All right, there's another channel over here. We can see it marked. It will take you. I'm seeing it. Oh, I'm mixing up my bridges. Okay. All right, so here we're gonna follow this channel. All right, the channel continues north. This is another moment. Let me get rid of the satellite. This is another moment where we're going to want to stick to the channel, right? In the center of the screen, you can see the 6, you can see the 4 below us. If I zoom out a little bit, I mean, it does look like there's plenty of room, but in reality, you do not get much room until you get past that island here that it looks like it's marked and says Patil Island. After that, then it widens up and you got plenty of room. But until then, it's really nice. It's really narrow. So make sure you're sticking to that channel. After you get past that island, if then you want to make that starboard turn and make your way back towards into Surf City, maybe need to go back into here. There are a couple marinas again back in here. You do have Surf City Marina. They do have fuel in here. You have Smith's Marine. You do have there's a yacht club. We'll keep making our way up north. Okay, up here, Harvey Cedars Marina. Harvey Cedars Marina can be deceiving. Make sure that you're following the sticks in. Ed, have you been up here which side of the
Yeah. So
island are the
you
sticks
probably
on?
you remember a few years ago where you entered from the north end,
Yeah.
and the north end is for the last 2 years they've done a stick channel on the south end. The north end is almost totally closed out as part of the big sandbar now. At high tide, you might have 3 feet if you pick your way through your old tracks, but at low tide, it's a foot. So, yeah,
Okay.
you got to go in from the south side now. Yep,
Okay.
that's exactly it.
So I just marked what we were talking about here. So there used to be it used to be like a U, be able to go in there in one way and go out the other way. But as Ed just pointed out, the north entrance channel has stilted over, so you can't get in and out of there. So follow that path on the south side. There are sticks. Follow them in and out. Harvey Cedars Marina does have a fuel dock. Call them before you drive all the way in there to make sure that it's open. All right. And sometimes they have to have a guy meet you there because he used to live up and around the corner, and he would drive down and meet you to help you fill up the tank. All right, gonna keep going north. There is a moment here where you'll see where it kind of goes away from land, and it does give you a chance to open it up again. A lot of this, when you're real close to land, it becomes an awake zone. So up here, there are moments where it's no wake and a wake zone, or a no wake zone and a wake zone, kind of like a speed trap area, if you will, if you're driving your car. So make sure you're paying attention and looking for these buoys and kind of respecting these areas. You don't want to damage anybody's boats. All right. I feel like I missed a spot. There's I'll go back to it. See if I can comb through it after I cover all of this. There's a neighborhood here on the right. I want to highlight how to get into it. The Loveladies neighborhood here. You have to really kind of pay attention on your way in, and it can be kind of tricky on the way in. So yeah, I do have that sandbar. You can see it. All right, so you have a sandbar right here, right? All right, so you should have a set of sticks going in there. And then once you get in there, you have to go right along the houses and hug that bulkhead to get in there. You have to get in there kind of at a high, mid tide to high tide, because in the past there has been shoaling that has affected that entrance. Because you can see this sandbar. They've been doing a great job. This sandbar here has in the past has been over here and has blocked that entrance. In fact, if you look at it on Google Maps, you will see how the sandbar in the past has done this and has blocked that entrance. And they're continually fighting that. I think every season, every 2 seasons, they have to get in there with a dredge and clear that out. So make sure you're paying attention to your depth finder as you're going back in there. Okay. All right, we're going north. This kind of here, this is another spot where you really have to pay attention to what you're doing and making sure that you are watching out for the channel marker, because what's that? I don't know what just happened. My phone just started making a beeping noise. The channel does make an abrupt turn, so you got to pay attention for it. And the channel markers get a whole lot further apart. So you got to make sure that you know where you're going and you're seeing where you're going. All right. Up here at number 47, there is a channel that will take you back into Loveladies Marina. As you can see here on the chart, it is a private channel. It is seasonal. So in the past, it has been sticks. Have you been up here lately, Ed? Is it in there?
Yeah, but it's a combination of sticks and marks. I see it from the ICW. I never have had occasion to actually go back in there.
Okay. When you're going back in here, make sure you stick with it. I'm not even going to try to draw it because it's not a straight line. Stick with it. I will annotate it down here on the bottom right though. You do see how that it comes. I don't want brown. I want pink. You do see how that it comes down here and curves and does that to get in here. It does do that. All right. So make sure that you're paying attention to that because it avoids those sandbars and it hugs that deep section. All right. So make sure that you're paying attention to where you're going and how you're getting in there. You can use that as an alternative to get in and out of. It's kind of the slow way into some bays and alternative to get to different locations. So, I mean, just know it's there if you're trying to get to different spots. Okay, so we're going to be working our way. We're going to wrap around into, we are going to do Barnegat up here. Okay, I am not going to do anything on the left. We're going to cover that area on Wednesday. As we approach in the Barnegat Bay, right here, we are going to turn starboard and go in through this channel. I know it looks scary. It looks deceiving. Right here, we have two buoys that are on top of a sandbar. They just dredged this channel last year, I think at the beginning of last year. So this chart, obviously this chart graphic does not match what's actually there. I wonder if the satellite imagery shows the dredge. No, it doesn't show the dredge, but you do see that there's a cut through in the sandbar. So you can get through there.
Well, I was there this past weekend, and at the inland entrance to that channel, it's a combination of buoys and sticks, and all through there now they have shoaling markers. So it's tight, but certainly passable as long as you follow the channel. You just can't go on your own way.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. So it's well marked. Make sure you follow the channel all your way through here. It does kind of wrap around, so make sure you're following your way through. In this spot, the channel does change here. I probably should have highlighted this. The entire way until this point, we were on the ICW, right? So we had red on our right, green on our left. I'm sorry, green on our right between us and the ocean, and yeah, we had red between us and New Jersey. And now we would actually keep it the same way, right? So now we're going out a river, and we're still going to have green on our starboard side as we go out. All right, so we're going to follow the channel our way out, and just make sure you don't get caught up and find your way going back towards. All right. Okay. Here we are. Here is Barnegat Light. I'll switch it over to satellite imagery so we can see where we are and we can orient ourselves. All right, it's really great to be able to jump between the two because sometimes you can get lost looking at it. All right, right here, you can see that there is a sandbar that you do have to kind of navigate yourself around. It is there, so make sure that you do respect the channel markers. It's right here. I'll highlight it for you. All right. You can either go to the south side or hug it to pick a side. Don't run it over. All right, there's always a lot of stuff going on up here. The first marinas that we're going to come to going south, we do have Lighthouse Marina. They do have a fuel dock. It's right on the inside of the marina. Next up, it does get real narrow as you get in here. And we're going to be coming across, there's a slew of marinas here. You do have Kelly's Boat, and then where are the other ones? All right. Over here, we have the High Bar Yacht Club, we have Bayview North, and we have Bayview South. Yeah, and the Barnegat Light Yacht Basin. All right, in this area, in this kind of lake-ish area, you got to make sure that you're paying attention so you don't run aground. There are sticks and there are those little floating buoys, so make sure that you're respecting them and make sure that you do not run aground. Depending upon how you get into this area. All right, so if you come in via the narrow section, right, you got to really pay attention and make sure that you're following the sticks at this point so that you don't run aground over here. All right, so make sure that you're respecting those sticks. If you're coming in from on the fast side, that first area would all be no wake zone. All right, if you're going to come in here, this here, you can open up just unless there are people anchored in the anchorage. This here is anchorage. You can anchor there if you want to. All right, coming in this way, there are a combination of buoys and telephone poles in that area to mark your way into this area. Okay, this area is highly traveled. There is quite a few boats that come in and out of there, so it is well marked. Just again, make sure that you pay attention to what you're doing, where you're going, so you don't run aground as you get further into there, because you do have that large channel in here, that large sandbar right in there. All right. At the bottom here, there's a commercial marina down here. There is, yeah. Okay, we talked about quite a bit tonight. And there were two things I wanted to go back and look at, right? There is, I know I missed, it'd be hard to find. There is a spot on, is it this spot? Yeah, I think it's this spot. All right, as we come down, this is more of a hazard as you're coming south on the Intracoastal Waterway than if you're going north on the Intracoastal Waterway. All right, because as you're coming south on the Intracoastal Waterway, right, and you're going red marker, green marker, and you're looking for the next red marker, you're looking ahead and you don't see it, and you see the green marker. A lot of people skip that red marker and don't see it, and they run aground right there. All right, so this 36, you got to pay attention to that 36 because people run aground right there because they miss it because it's all the way over that starboard side. People just miss it. I guess the same thing can happen if you're going north, but it's more obvious. I don't know. I see people frequently miss it going south compared to if they're going north. Just something I see people do. Okay. How about you, Ed? Do you see people frequently miss that going south?
Oh, all the time, because you're used to seeing the telephone poles, and then that's just a floating buoy, that one. And
Yeah.
the other thing it does is it throws off the crossing pattern for boats going north and south. If the boats coming south are honoring it and the boats going north decide not to and get through there, it puts them in a very awkward. You're not. It's hard to pass port to port at that point.
Yeah, and it gets real shallow real quick, and
Yes.
people are stuck on the mud so quickly.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. So if you're going through this area, it's right off of Harvey Cedars. Harvey Cedars. Make sure that you're paying attention and look for that buoy number 56, and make sure that you're turning around it. I've caught myself almost running aground there because you don't see it. You don't see it because you're looking ahead, looking for the next one, and the next one that you see is 57 from 55 because it's straight ahead. 56 is all the way over to your starboard, and you don't see it. It's not in your line of vision. Okay, coming south. What else was there? All right, for coming south, you don't necessarily have to go the slow no wake zone, right? The slow no wake zone takes forever to get from Beach Haven West to Tuckerton. It takes forever. Okay, literally forever. But there's this bay directly to the south of Beach Haven West that you cannot drive straight across. Okay, if you drive straight across, you will get stuck. You cannot do that. No, that is not going to work. Not a chance. Okay, the only way to get across is you have to go in a curve. All right, you have to do it. It is not marked. There is no buoys. The only way to do it is you have to kind of do it trial by error. And then once you have your breadcrumb line, then you know where it is. Okay. The only way I've known where it is I've had, charts, and I've gone it and I've taken my time and I found it. But in reality is there used to be, you can see it here on this chart, there used to be a restaurant up here in Antonia. It's not there anymore. It's all been shuttered and gone. I think Sandy wiped them out or something. Used to go to Antonia's every now and then to get food. And by knowing how to get there, that's how I learned how to get through here. All right. So if you want to go this route, you have to take that curved route through there. So get your iPad out, get your chart plotter out, look at the contour and follow the contour through there. They're honestly, there might be a buoy up there. There might be. I doubt it. There might be a buoy there. I doubt it. There might be. Every time I go through here, there's nothing there except for crab traps. All right. Okay. Over here, you have this other creek. There really isn't much up here on this creek. You do have Nolan's Marina. You have J&B Marine Services. There's a couple of different just kind of marine construction services back here, and there is a boat ramp way up there. But you have to have a really shallow boat to get back there, maybe a wave runner to get back into that. To get back there, you just kind of follow the same path to get there as I just highlighted, and you'll be good. All right. Once you get down into, there's this wonderful gigantic circle here, right? Everyone's always like, what is that? This is a training setup or a regatta setup for the sailboats. All right. So there's a whole bunch, or there used to be a whole bunch of yachting clubs in the area. And what they do is they say, okay, on this race, we're going to use buoys D, X, and A, right? And what they do is they go, okay, I'm going to raise this way, I'm going to raise this way, I'm going to raise this way, I'm going to raise this way. All right. And that's what they do. All right. And that's what it is. Okay. So if you're coming through here, be mindful of that. The other thing that's up here that is annoying is there's a paraglider up here. Is he still up here? Ed, have you seen him up here?
I didn't see him last year, but I did see him the year before.
Okay. Paragliders. So there are no real fancy rules for paragliders. The only quote rule I would say is kind of treat them like sailboats. Okay. If you're driving through the area, treat them like sailboats because they got this thing, this person up above them. Don't really cut them off and don't drive underneath the person on the parachute, right? Because you don't want them falling on top of you and you don't want anything bad happening, right? If they stop suddenly, if the boat stops suddenly, they could create slack in the line, which can create issues for the person up in the parachute, which can cause similar issues for those on a sailboat. So treat them as if you would a sailboat. Not that they have any special rules in the nav rules. I'm not quoting anything out of there. I'm just saying, out of respect and for your sanity, treat them as if you would a sailboat, especially since there's all sorts of other stuff going on in this area. Okay. Ed, did you have anything that you wanted to cover in this area?
No, just in that area by Gaunt Point right there by Tuckerton Beach, there are a couple oyster farms that project out into the water now, those big black cages. They're marked with white buoys, but it's quite a few. I'm glad to see them. They help the water quality, but just got to be aware of them.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us for this session of Whitman Marine Training's Boater's Compass. I hope you found this discussion helpful in navigating safer and smarter. As always, stay aware, plan ahead, and respect the water. Don't forget to check out our upcoming webinars. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like covered next time, please let us know. Subscribe for updates. And until next time, stay safe, stay informed, and enjoy the journey and get out on the water and have some fun.